In the early 2000s, Lexus quietly began a secret quest to build a halo supercar that would shatter stereotypes and rival the world's fastest machines. Behind closed doors, Japanese engineers hatched a plan so ambitious it would demand everything they had. This was the birth of the Lexus LFA, a 4.8-liter V10 powered dream that took nearly a decade to perfect. It was a car whose every component pushed the limits of automotive technology and precision engineering. By the time the first customer car rolled out in late 2010, the LFA was so outrageously advanced that even seasoned mechanics would later whisper stories of utter frustration working on it. Every detail of the LFA was a test of human skill, a high-stakes performance where there was no room for error. From the start, Lexus engineers spared no expense. The LFA project, codenamed TXS, formally began in 2000, and the first prototype appeared in 2003. Early concepts debuted in 2005, wowing onlookers but raising questions. Could a brand known for plush luxury sedans really master this supercar world? By 2007 and 2008, convertible and coupe prototypes had emerged, proving Lexus's intentions. In theory, the LFA would be a two-seat front mid-engine coupe with rear-wheel drive, a traditional sports car layout on paper. But in reality, every aspect was far from conventional. Toyota's luxury division poured untold millions into making the LFA not just faster, but fundamentally different. They recruited master artisans, Takumi, from across the company, craftsmen who treated the build like a samurai ritual, meticulously assembling each car bit by bit. There were no robots here. Every wheel torqued by hand, every bolt logged on a checklist. As one observer noted, no automated robots trolled these facilities. Every bolt was documented after it was fastened. All equipment moved in a carefully orchestrated waltz. No noise, no dust, no rush, only calm, collected, mindful assembly. The factory floor felt more like a temple of precision than an auto assembly line. Even gathering the right team was a feat. Toyota cherry-picked nearly 200 specialists, engineers, carbon fiber weavers, painters, quality controllers, from its entire workforce. Passion mattered more than pedigree. One manager explained that Lexus assembled people who love cars and who constantly asked how to make each part lighter, each piece perfect. There was anxiety too. As one production leader admitted, he asked himself, can we even make one car a day? Coming from mass production backgrounds, where hundreds of cars rolled off the line each day, this painstaking pace was intimidating. Toyota's president, Akio Toyoda, decreed that LFA assembly would be as simple and pure as possible, even if it meant much slower output, literally one car per day by the end of production. One paint shop artisan was given a single can of paint to finish each car, ensuring flawless uniformity. The final evidence list for each chassis was 1,300 pages long. Drawings, measurements, torque specs, tire pressures, assembly procedures. The entire life story of that car locked away in Motomachi, Japan. It was almost beyond human scale. The centerpiece of the LFA's extreme design was its monocoque, the central shell that would protect the occupants and stiffen the chassis. Lexus engineers opted for a full carbon fiber reinforced polymer (CFRP) tub, a material largely reserved for aerospace or Formula One cars. In fact, 65% of the LFA's body was made from carbon fiber. This wasn't because Lexus engineers were chasing a gimmick, but because they were obsessed with saving every possible ounce of weight while maintaining rock-solid rigidity. By crafting a one-piece CFRP cabin, the LFA's body was roughly 100 kilograms lighter than if it had been built from aluminum. To get there, Lexus had to invent manufacturing processes from scratch. The company built a dedicated facility just to weave the LFA's carbon fiber parts in-house. In that facility stood a loom unlike any other in the automotive world. A circular machine with 144 spools, spinning 24,000 strands of carbon thread to form the hollow door frames. This circular loom one of only two in the world capable of making the LFA's parts, symbolized how nothing short of a small factory's worth of innovation would suffice. The result was a chassis that weighed only about 425 pounds, 193 kilograms, yet delivered supercar stiff strength. It was so rigid and light that Lexus could sculpt it with razor-sharp edges, an advantage that Chief Engineer Haruhiko Tanahashi pointed out. Normally, a body panel must be rounded or smooth to prevent cracking in metal, but carbon fiber could be molded into abrupt cutoffs. This allowed Lexus to tune the airflow like never before. The LFA has a very low drag coefficient, just 0.31, and Tanahashi proudly noted that it produces more aerodynamic downforce than any rival of its era. Even little details, the inside of the door mirrors, for example, were shaped as air scoops to feed the mid-mounted radiators. At speed, a gurney flap-topped rear wing popped up automatically above 50 miles per hour, adding more grip than any comparable two-seater. Every curve, scoop, and spoiler on the LFA was born from hundreds of virtual wind tunnel hours and driven by the carbon fiber tub's freedom of design. Behind that tub sat the heart of the LFA, a bespoke 4.8-liter V10 engine co-developed with Yamaha. Rather than shrink a V8 or stretch a V12, Lexus engineers chose a high-revving V10 for one simple reason: it would scream. They wanted the LFA's soul to be its voice. The 1LRGUE V10 is an utter marvel of engineering. It puts out 553 horsepower at a staggering 8,700 RPM, and it revs all the way to 9,000 RPM before the limiter cuts in. Developing such a fearsome power plant meant borrowing F1 tricks. Each of the 10 throttle bodies is electronically controlled for instant response, and the exhaust manifolds are equal length to tune the intake roar. Engineers went so far as to hand grind each camshaft lobe to perfect the lift. The engine uses forged aluminum pistons, forged titanium connecting rods, solid titanium valves, and ultra-light rocker arms. Every reciprocating part is engineered for the highest RPM while still surviving daily driving. The wild nature of that V10 is almost beyond belief. It can surge from idle to 9,000 RPM in just 0.6 seconds, an acceleration so quick that the mechanical tachometer needle simply couldn't keep up. Lexus decided on a high-tech solution, a fully digital central tachometer display, a trick tach unlike any other. Instead of a bouncing needle, a thin film transistor LCD swings in animated fashion. In regular mode, it's black on white, but in sport mode, it turns snowy white and then hot red near the limiter. A driver can even switch to a lap timer readout on the same screen. This wasn't just for show, it was a necessity. At 9,000 RPM, the LFA's little engine screams with such ferocity that it can make champagne shatter through resonance frequency. It truly sounds like the roar of an angel, as the engineers put it. Even as it hits its red line, the digital Tasha's invisible hand updates instantly, something a mechanical needle simply could not do. In short, the entire cockpit display was born of the engine's madness. Even the weight of the engine itself was kept astonishingly low, thanks to its compact 72-degree configuration and lightweight internals. The LFA's V10 actually weighs less than Toyota's own 3.5-liter V6 found in some Camrys. Mounting so much power so low and far back gave the LFA near-perfect balance. 48% of the mass sits over the front wheels, 52% over the rear. This was achieved by clever packaging. The dry sump oil reservoir tucked the engine lower, and even the washer fluid tank was placed centrally next to the fuel tank to keep the car poised. Every heavy component was moved inside the wheelbase, creating a cohesive weight distribution that let the LFA change direction like a race car. Even its steering is fully electric, no hydraulic pump, simply because the chassis is so stiff that an electric rack could keep pace without compromise. With all these wild specs on paper, bringing the LFA to life was no easy feat. Mechanics used to grease monkey repairs were confronted with an alien world of carbon composites and fingertip tolerances. One team leader remembered the early days with a shudder. On the first car, "We went through a lot of tough times," he said. "Those tough times energized me and gave me the will to fight harder and to actually make a vehicle that was a success at the end." Building one LFA took 8 days of painstaking labor. Craftsmen studied the subtle art of layering carbon cloth in a vacuum autoclave and kept exhaustive Takumi books, notebooks filled with every trial and success. As if documenting a sacred ritual, they scrapped and rebuilt countless body panels that failed color or alignment checks, logging some 9,000 quality checkpoints along the way. The painters and chassis experts felt the pressure acutely. "It's not just a Lexus," one said. "It's our soul as engineers being tested." When the final car was finished in December 2012, the team leaders felt a release of emotion akin to a family milestone. "Like my daughter is getting married," joked one Honda-based group leader. Legend has it that just 1 year after the first customer deliveries began, whispers emerged that even veteran mechanics were walking away from the LFA in frustration. The reality is less sensational. Toyota vets were at the factory every step of the way, but it's true that traditional repair shops would find an LFA a nightmare to service. No ordinary wrench would do. Body panels had to be unbolted by hand in a dust-free chamber, and scans of each carbon panel recorded any micro imperfection. The engine room looked more like a fighter jet bay than a car's. A single misrouted hose or an out-of-spec torque could ruin a $550,000 car. Any mechanic lacking dozens of hours of special training literally could quit in exasperation. The LFA was purpose-built to push boundaries, not to be a lunchbox truck. Still, the payoff was undeniable. When the LFA finally arrived to reviewers and wealthy collectors, it proved to be everything Lexus promised, and more. In independent tests, the LFA blasted to 60 miles per hour in about 3.6 seconds and carried on to over 200 miles per hour. It did so with a mechanical symphony for an exhaust note. One magazine likened it to having a small fighter plane strapped behind the seats. In real-world handling, the LFA felt planted at triple-digit speeds as if it were on rails, and its carbon ceramic brakes could haul it down from those speeds as a rally car would. In hot laps around the Nürburgring, the LFA clocked times that amazed even die-hard sports car fans. Its hybrid race technology torque tube and weight bias strategy keeping it stable through every corner. Drivers often left the cockpit visibly awestruck, a grin plastered on their face and tears in their eyes. Despite the drama of its creation, the LFA was never meant to be a commercial hit. Lexus built just 500, each one priced around $375,000, simply to prove a point. In fact, Lexus openly acknowledged it would lose money on everyone sold. It was a technological statement, not a profit center. When the last Nürburgring edition LFA chassis number 500 emerged in late 2012, it had already earned its legend. Reviews hailed it as the most exciting car to come out of Japan since the GTR, a high praise considering its $500,000 price. Collectors snapped them up immediately. Today, an LFA's value easily doubles when one hits the auction block. In the end, the Lexus LFA's true legacy isn't lap times or horsepower figures, it's inspiration. The lessons learned on that assembly line and in those carbon fiber clean rooms rippled through Toyota's future. Lexus engineers turned their ordeal into fuel. They went on to refine hybrid supercars, performance sedans, and even luxury exotics drawing on LFA DNA. The master builders of the LFA applied their obsessive craftsmanship to new models and even helped start Toyota's Gazoo racing division, which has since won Le Mans and redefined Toyota performance cars. In other words, every exotic part of the LFA, from its screaming engine to its high-tech cockpit, has trickled down into modern cars in subtle ways. As the last sun set on production, the LFA stood alone as a monument to human ambition. It was a car so advanced that it could make mechanics tear their hair out. Yet it also captivated engineers, designers, and drivers with its purity and passion. Lexus's gamble paid off. The LFA proved that even a company known for comfort and reliability could create something wildly, unapologetically extreme. Its roar still echoes through automotive history as proof that sometimes pushing too far is exactly what the future needs. The Lexus LFA may have intimidated some in its day, but its story lives on as a symbol of ultimate precision and engineering spirit.